1951. This is The Legend. 105.3, 95.3, WDXE.
That's us, The Legend, WDXE. It's time for Friends and Neighbors. And my friend and neighbor today is my partner, actually, Mr. Guy Hester. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I gave you short notice, and you agreed to come in.
Yeah,
I really did.
Yeah, pretty short notice.
It was short notice. I said, hey, can you come in the morning? He said, well, what are we doing? So anyway, I'm glad you came in. We've been thinking about having you in for a while and just hadn't done it.
Yeah, you finally got down to the dregs.
Just, every once in a while, you just have to do what you have to do. That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Well, for those of you who know, of course, Guy Hester is the Hester part of Hood and Hester Realty and Auction Company, and he and I have been partners. 8, 9 years now?
9 years.
9 years. How about that?
Rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling. And it's been a good partnership, I must say. We've had a good run and seem to work well together. Everything's rocking along good. We've been busy and
busy enough.
Still busy, yeah.
Still busy. Everybody's talking about this and that, and I'm saying, well, I guess that's going to hit us one of these days.
Well,
I don't know.
We've been busy, and we're thankful for that. We are. That's true. But hey, of course, for those of you who know the Friends and Neighbor Hour, we just try to visit. We're not going to make it all about real estate or all about auctions. We'll talk about it some because that's the life that we live. But you have other interests, and you have lived a long and interesting life so far, buddy. I've gotten to know you over the years and know a little bit about you, but a lot of people may not know some of the things I know, and we're going to talk about this. First of all, you were born and raised where?
Here in Lawrence County.
You were right here in Lawrence County, but what part of the county?
Right where I live, almost. The corner of Reveille Road and what we call Big Oak Road.
So you didn't, as far as living, you didn't wander far.
Well, I lived in Columbia a little while. I lived in Nashville a little while. That was as a kid, just wandering around jobs. And, of course, I lived in Columbia when I went to school there.
Yeah.
At Columbia State.
So, well, as a young man, though, let's go back to childhood for just a minute, because your family farmed. What did y'all do?
Yeah.
You just farmed.
Yeah, my dad worked at Stauffer.
He did. Okay.
The furnace plant, and of course, all the family worked. There was a huge family for the time. There were 13 of my dad and his brothers and sisters.
Oh,
my mom
really?
came from a rather large family, 5 or 6 of them, and we had the farm. When you're talking about farming, I don't know that you say we really farmed. We weren't. Everybody pretty much. We had cattle.
Yeah.
We had corn. We had lots of cotton.
Yeah.
Which I'm.
But your family made a living elsewise as well.
Yeah. Everybody had to bring their part in. You know. Everybody at the time had to. Everybody's got to get up and do something.
Now you got brothers and sisters.
Yeah. I had a brother. He's passed.
Okay. Who was your brother?
Lonnie.
Lonnie.
Alonzo Judson. Lonnie Hester. He was a really smart guy. He had PhDs.
Really?
Yeah. And worked in agronomy.
In what?
Agronomy, plant breeding.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. In developing all of these things you hear about today that are terrible, terrible things.
Oh, God.
Which aren't really, but genetically modified things. It's amazing. I used to travel and visit and see the research stations.
Now, where was he? Where was he located?
Well, he was a little everywhere. He was in North Carolina for a long time, and then, of course, Hastings, Nebraska, is where he wound up with Northrop King over their seed development program.
Okay. Now, so you went to, did you and he go to elementary school here? What was the difference in y'all's age?
Well, let's see. I'll be 70 in September, and he would be in his 80s.
Okay.
I have a sister, Carla.
Okay.
Cribbs, who is in. We go visit her. We went last year and visited her. She is in Daytona, right on the beach.
Oh, good for her.
And Connie Fife, who has retired from teaching in Illinois, she's back here in Lawrence County now.
Remember Connie? Yes.
My youngest sister is married to Donnie Perry.
Yes.
The Perry boys.
Yeah.
So we're all back at home except for Carla.
Okay. Well, good. Well, good deal. Good deal. So you grew up, what elementary school was where?
Why, of course, it was Revelo.
Revelo.
Yeah, the university. Part of the building's still there. Yeah.
Revelo School.
It looks kind of bad now.
You know, I think one of the greatest basketball games I was ever involved in, was at Revelo School. And I was at New Prospect at the time, and we played Revelo. And that was back when the community schools were really rivals. You know?
Oh yeah, the ball teams were ball teams.
The ball teams were.
If there was really travel ball when I was coming up, of course my grandkids. I have 3 grandkids.
Yeah.
And boy, my oldest grandchild is 14.
Yes.
He's a pitcher, first base. He is good. Maggie is playing the fast pitch. She's a pitcher, catcher, first base.
Yeah.
And Luke is coming on. Luke and his dad, Brett, my youngest boy, have moved back here now.
Right.
And boy, let me tell you, that Luke, he's ready to go.
Y'all are travel balling a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But back in the day, we had the travel ball was basically inter-county.
Yeah, you traveled from 5 Points to Leon. Hey, let me tell you, people laugh about this. Wyatt has one bat.
Yeah.
That costs more than all of the equipment combined when I played Little League and Babe Ruth here at Revelo.
Yeah.
He has one bat that costs more than all of our equipment. We had to have the crooked needle and some sewing thread, because if something happened to the ball, we was going to patch that ball. And if you lost it, the game just stopped, and everybody went out in the bean field looking for
the ball. That's right.
Now, man, I go to these ball games, and they pitch up. They have to set down a pallet at some of these tournaments.
Yeah.
They come in with pallets of baseball.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And if the ball, they look at it and they pitch that one out.
Doesn't make good sense to us anymore.
I just look at it, but they play big time now. Wyatt has just been to. They were in North Carolina for days, 8 or 9 days.
Yeah, the travel
and did well in the tournaments. They left there and went to Missouri.
Yeah,
and they're just getting back home and getting settled in. And it is big time.
It is.
It's amazing what some of these little 14, 13-year-old boys and girls, Maggie's 12, Luke's 10, it's amazing with the training and coaching what they can do.
Well, a lot of them have done it, since they've been big enough to
T-ball
pick up a bat at all. They sure do. I've got a little grandson that's coming that way, playing travel ball and
I hear a little bit about him.
Loving every minute of it.
He's gonna.
Now he's got a taste now for football. He come home with pads. He signed up for the little league football stuff.
We need to get him down at Loretta. How are you gonna do that?
I don't know. Well, anyway, he's excited about it. At first, he couldn't say football. It was fitball.
Football. Yeah.
He wanted to play fitball. He's figured it out now, though. It's all football, and he's all into it. So we'll see how that goes. Well, listen, you've got a career that happened before the auction career. And I was just knowing you and talking with you, you worked for, how did you end up working for, was it Stauffer and then became DuPont, or what was the deal there?
Back in the day, when I actually went to work for a company, it was Stauffer and Mount Pleasant at the furnace plant.
Yes.
How
old were you when you started there?
Let's see, about 20.
Yeah, so young
1975.
man. Yeah, young man.
August 7th, hottest day of the year. You ever been around the furnace on the hottest day of the year?
I have worked the furnace, sure enough.
Now, I'm not talking about ovens. I'm talking about knock the hole out and the metal and slag run out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's a furnace.
Yeah. My furnace experience was heat treat. Heat treat with the conveyor belts running the bicycles through and all that kind of stuff. I worked those furnaces at Murray in 44 there for a short period of time. And and I would actually break out in a heat rash. I mean, it'd be hot.
Mr. Cooper, our district attorney, spent his early career there.
Oh, really?
Especially in the summers.
Oh, yeah.
And he learned to appreciate work. He has some stories too.
I bet.
Lots of folks came through that plant, but over the years there were buyouts, sellouts. The very first one, about 1981, I had already completed. I was already a welder when I went there, and I completed. To work in maintenance there, you had to be multi-craft.
Yeah.
You had to carry at least 7 trades that you certified in.
Okay.
That you were licensed, that you worked in.
Okay.
And so I had to go through an apprentice program.
Okay.
And wound up in maintenance. Had a little knack for finding problems and fixing things. And we had everything in that plant. I'm talking about from raw material handling to finished phosphorus
Yeah.
going out the door. We even handled white phosphorus.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we handled the slag. We had rock crushers. We had it all, from D11 dozers and drag lines that were run and operated by Tillman Knox and his bunch, all the way through to 100-car trains that go out loaded with slag going to Florida because they don't have any rock to build a road. It was amazing, the things that I learned.
Yeah.
Chesborough Ponds was the very first big buyout. They bought stock for 113 plants. Bam.
Okay. So
Worldwide, 113 plants.
Yeah.
They broke it apart. This was back in the day of rob the pensions,
Yeah.
tear it all apart,
Yeah.
fire everybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
sell it, make money, let's buy another one.
Yeah.
Man, we went through so many, from Chesborough Ponds to CDC, IDI, Zeneca. I mean, you knew you were working for a different one when you check out a different name on it.
Well, but they kept that plant in operation through all those.
We kept that plant in operation until 91.
Okay.
I worked with them in the demolition, stayed.
Really?
I was pretty much, I guess, the youngest salary man in the plant at that time,
Wow.
over maintenance.
Okay.
And I stayed. Actually, they moved my home office to Cranberry, New Jersey,
Okay.
because of my youth in the plant.
Okay.
And they called it Special Projects. And we demolished the plant and buried it.
What was the company at that time? Was it who owned it at that time?
Rhodia.
Rhodia. Okay.
Rhodia.
Interesting.
This was about the same time that, as things were coming together and they moved me over, Ron Plank was a part of it at about that same time. But then it was Rhodia. And just about the time that they were moving me from the raw handling materials and chemical side to the food side, which I didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
I just worked on the equipment pretty much.
Right.
And then the traveling had started, and my home office was in my home.
Okay.
When they did all this, they didn't tell me I was never going to have to go to the office. I wouldn't get to go to the office. You're not going to get to go to the office. Your office is going to be in your home.
Interesting.
And I hit the road. And that went on for years after we demolished the plant. But then Danesco, which was a huge player,
Right.
bought it out to get the food division. A lot of the biggest companies were trying to get away from the raw material handling, from chemicals.
Okay.
Everybody was seeing the big money in, as it is today, pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
housing,
Yeah.
transportation, entertainment,
And food.
food. And that's where I wound up.
That's where you wound up. So what was the? And I guess pardon my ignorance on this, but what was the service? What were you guys providing the food industry?
Well, that's kind of which time. I was doing.
I guess you had to start at the beginning.
Well, I
because-
was doing a lot of troubleshooting. I'd go in and look at equipment that had been bought and installed, and things that I'd never seen before.
Okay.
I've never seen this equipment, and I'm going to somewhere in Ohio, and I
Okay.
fly in and start digging in.
Yeah.
And you just have to dig till you find the problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a typical plant though that you would be sent to, and I'm just because I'm a little ignorant on this, but so you're at a food processing plant of some sort, and they
Most of them at that time,
what,
yeah.
What kind of? Give me an example of one. I don't even know.
Well, They actually moved me over to, they had, at the time, this was Rhodia, and they had come up with a product that, well, I learned a lot about patents and a lot about things moving along. We had a product, TSP, trisodium phosphate dodecahydrate, which in a combination with water, mixed with water, in about a 8.5 to 10% solution, is sterile. And it kills bacteria on products, especially meat.
Okay.
But TSP have been around forever, so you can't patent TSP.
Okay.
So I worked with a group of people. I'm talking about first time that I really ever walked in and sat down with them. I looked around the room. Wow.
So you
Wow.
thought you were out of your league, I guess.
Hey, I have been around some of these people. These are the killers in the industry, man.
Yeah. What were they doing?
What am I doing here with these dudes?
Yeah.
They teamed me up with a fellow that turned out to be a great friend of mine, Fritz over here. And we worked together designing equipment to use this product. And finally, we couldn't patent the product. So we patented the process of using it on raw meat to kill bacteria.
But the problem was they were losing product.
Well, they had spent millions to develop this, and the industry should just jump on it.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't hardly work, because now you won't have to worry about salmonella and E. coli and things like this on chicken, you know? Okay.
Yeah.
But, chicken was one. We worked with beef, too. We worked with catfish. But now this is not a poison we're spraying on. You know, people say TSP, you clean paintbrushes with that. Well, yeah, in a stronger solution. But TSP is a very high pH solution. And it's loaded with phosphates, which I'm supposed to know a lot about phosphorus and phosphates.
Okay.
After having been in the raw material handling.
Yeah, so you waited around it for a little while.
Yeah, well, you don't wait around in phosphorus, but yeah, the phosphates, food phosphates are in everything.
Right.
But this product is very high in pH. If you want to kill bacteria, you have, without getting a poison, you either go very high pH or vinegar. Vinegar is an acid.
Okay.
You keep going to a lower pH. So we were with the very high pH, 13.8, 13.3, depending on the concentration of solution.
Right.
And what it does, you are emulsifying fat. This very high solution will emulsify the fat.
Okay.
The bacteria cells are made of fat.
Okay.
The wall that holds it together is pretty much 90% fat.
Okay.
And what you're doing is emulsifying the fat, and pop, the cell is gone.
Okay.
So you're washing away the bacteria. But it wasn't just a cut and dry thing. At first, millions had been poured into it, and they brought these people together in this room and said, look, this is going to happen. So we wound up going to Washington with the process that had been patented, and managed to get permission if they used the product in a processing plant, then they could do what would be known as on-line reprocessing. Now, at that time, the lines in plants ran 70 birds a minute, you know, and they thought they were rocking and rolling. And long story short, when we were through and equipment changed out and modified that we helped do, they were running 140 to 156 birds a minute.
Wow.
And what was known as dirty birds now can be left on the line. They weren't all taken off.
Okay.
Sent to hand reprocessing, where humans handle these.
Right.
The more you handle them, the more bacteria is involved.
Right. Right.
What's the dirtiest thing in the plant?
People's hands, probably.
You and me.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Actually, in big processing, I've been there. I've been in the beef, the catfish, the poultry, the turkeys, ducks, white ducks. I was rather impressed
Yeah.
with the numbers and the cleanliness and the inspection and the whole process.
Yeah.
Now, there are times you just as soon not be around one of the plants when it's shut down for clean out and all this.
Right.
But yeah, it's let me tell you, you can't believe, you cannot believe what it takes to feed this nation every day.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Now listen, Rodney, you know Rodney Yates.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Rodney says he wants you to put some of this in Gum Springs terms.
Well, you know, my boss, once I learned how to use a phone and a computer, a laptop, that was my life. And my boss referred to me as he would just tell him, say, well, send a high-tech redneck down there and see what he says, see what he can find.
See what he can find.
The high-tech redneck.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know, they're just some good old-fashioned, common sense stuff goes a long way, but you did have to have some technical knowledge and chemical knowledge.
Yeah, and you had to be willing.
And you had to be willing to learn it, yeah.
See the niche that Fritz and I fell into, I wound up in sales
Okay.
with these products, with techs under me. And we were willing to go into these places and do these things.
Yeah.
Now, what Fritz and I would call the real salespeople
Yeah.
would walk into a processing plant, maybe, can I name names like, Tyson
I guess, yeah.
Pilgrims
I
or
don't see
whoever.
why not.
We went in all of them. At that time, there were 179 processing plants on U.S. soil.
Okay.
I wound up with all of them in the islands, San Juan, Puerto Rico. I was, in fact, took my wife there several times, Vicky Hester. I wound up with all that. I had Texas and Old Mexico. I had California, Washington, Oregon, go as far as Vancouver in Canada, and then several on the East Coast. But we started out with, I did not in the end have a plant besides Albertville, Alabama, that I could drive to. I caught a plane 46 weeks out of the year.
Wow.
For years, from about 95 to about 2007, and in 2007 they decided that I was going to be moving to Kansas City. Well, actually south of Kansas City, to the new DuPont headquarters.
Yes.
Because DuPont owned us now.
Yeah.
And as I was there in that meeting, this was supposedly a promotion and all, but I had to relocate.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I told him, I said, look, I'll do whatever. I'll fly out here. I'll be here on Monday morning. I'll fly back home. You fly me back home. I said, I'll be here if you need me. But what you're telling me is I'm not going to be here either. It's going to be like my office in my home. I'm not going to get to go to the office. So why go through all this?
Right.
But the bottom line was I would relocate.
Uh-huh.
And I said, no. I've never told you no. But this is it.
Yeah. You wasn't moving.
Ain't moving.
Well, I don't blame you. Don't blame you.
I came home, and about 2 months later, I contracted for him for another 5 years, but I wouldn't go back to work for him.
Just did the contract work. That's interesting.
Best gig I ever had, man.
That was good. That was very good.
They couldn't tell me what to do. I was a contractor.
Well, that worked out really good for you, man.
Oh, yeah, it was a good thing. I wound up with 37 years, golden parachute out of here, 57 years old.
Yeah, you did good. Well, you worked hard.
Lived a dream, man.
But you worked hard. Really. I mean, that was I mean, you had to be willing to go and do.
If you're not the smartest guy on the team, you got to work harder than everybody else. Seriously, I would be in the plant before everybody else.
Yeah.
And I would probably be there when all of the other of the team, whatever, had left. Yeah. And I was already prepared for the next morning before I beat everybody else there.
Yeah.
That's all it.
It's just what you knew.
That was my advantage.
That's what you knew. Well,
I'm good at work.
Somewhere along the mix, you decided that auctioning would be fun.
Where did I get that?
I'm thinking, well, somewhere in this deal, you decided it'd be fun to be an auctioneer. When did that happen?
I started in 1978. Now this was, our little guy holding the horn, our logo.
Yes.
When I started, Eskridge and Holland would use me
Yes.
and sponsored my apprentice license.
Okay.
And they actually started out, they just called me when they had, back at that time, they did all the Amish auctions.
They did a lot.
All the Amish auctions. And back at that time, we sold the real estate and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was good deal.
Yeah.
Over the years, that changed. So
Right.
that you and I don't do a lot of those.
Right. Right.
We could, but we don't do a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I started out with Johnny Holland, and Johnny taught me a lot.
Yeah. Well, Skeets and Johnny, they were the premier auction company for a long, long time.
Oh yeah, there were some good ones.
And and of course, back in the day too, there was Buford Evans. And those were the main two that I remember.
Back at that time, that was about the two.
Yeah.
Now a little later on, I think Evans was split off a little, and you had Yule and Hooper Realty.
Yule and Hooper, yeah.
And Skeets and Johnny.
Yep.
Eskridge and Holland. Of course, Skeets Eskridge did the pig sales. Back then, the pig sales were people in Lawrence County, everybody had feeder pigs.
Yeah.
That's all gone. And Johnny Holland was the main auctioneer for the Columbia barn for years. In fact, that's where the little bit of cattle selling I did, Johnny taught me.
Okay.
Kind of came along in that.
I wonder, and you may know, just out of curiosity, I wonder how they actually got started is become the
I know a
auction.
little bit about it, not a lot.
Yeah.
But when they got together, they seemed to really do well.
Yeah, they did. They did, no doubt.
Johnny was, both of them, they were very knowledgeable in the business. I appreciate all that Johnny taught me. And then Bobby Collier from Murray County came down. That was, we were doing a sale. And of course, I was working at Stafford. And we were doing a sale, and Amish sale, and Bobby Collier came down from Columbia and was there. And after the sale, I didn't know he'd already talked to Johnny, but he approached me, and he wanted me to come work for him. And of course, I was with Eskridge and Holland. You understand that?
Yeah, you were already.
I said, I don't think you understand. I'm with Eskridge and Holland.
Yes.
So we talked about it. Well, he talked to Johnny some more, and Johnny just come. Let me tell you about Johnny. He's as straight up as anybody you ever talked to.
Yeah.
Okay. So Johnny called me and he says, "Look, Hester, you need to go with Collier." I said, "Really? You don't understand, Johnny. I'm with Eskridge and Holland." So he said, "Look, you're doing all right. You're learning.
Yeah.
You're ready. So you need to hang your shingle out."
Yeah.
But he said, "I don't want you here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to compete with you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing here for you. You're never going to make a lot of money with Eskridge and Holland.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you straight up, you need to go to Columbia."
How about that?
Hurt my feelings.
I bet it did. I bet it did.
So, we talked another time or two, and Collier came down, and man, he made a deal. I said, "Well, I'm not with Eskridge and Holland anymore."
Yeah. So
So I went to Columbia, and it was Columbia.
Well, Johnny was
Really
honest. Johnny was honest enough with you to tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
That you had better money to make if you do something different.
Yeah, he said, if there's any money to be made here in this business, old Johnny and old Skeet's gonna make it.
Yes.
And that's just the way it is. and that's just, and I realized, and he said, "Look, I'm not an old man." And at that time, this is back in.
Oh yeah, he was still going strong.
I started
big
with
time.
him in '78. I've been knocking around this stuff for a long time. This ain't my first rodeo with an auction.
Yeah.
If I can't figure it out, I don't know who you're going. They ain't no use calling a union hall. They ain't gonna have nobody down there to do it.
Right. So where did you go to auction school? Let me back up on you just a little bit.
Fort Smith, Arkansas.
She went to
Yeah.
Yeah. At that time, now I don't guess was the Nashville Auction School even there?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
they had that too.
Yeah, they had it.
I can't remember.
That was Evans.
That Evans started.
Lots of people came through Nashville.
Yeah, they did.
Actually, in my travels, I can tell you, I can listen for 5 minutes
Yeah,
and tell you where you went to school.
yeah,
I don't have to ask you.
yeah. Well, they train a little different in the chant.
Every school is a little different. Some say do what suits you, and some say this is what you do if you want to be an auctioneer.
Right, right.
Missouri has their thing. North Carolina has their thing. Fort Smith, at the time, Fort Smith was more of cattle auctions.
Cattle auctions.
You actually go to the sale barn. Sale barns there are still today, they're on consignment. And they sell about 3,500 to 7,000 a day, depending on
Right,
the year. But they're all groups. You don't sell single shots.
right,
They're
right,
groups of 20 or 35 or 18 or graded cattle.
right.
And you sell, there'll be 7 companies selling maybe here at this barn in Fort Smith,
Right.
Arkansas. And you sell with the consignor that you trust the most, or, you know, it's not like one guy owns this whole barn, like Florence or Columbia, or
Yeah,
you know, you're selling with this, you know, I use Harry Floyd a lot.
yeah.
And, give him a shot down there. They run a pretty good business.
Right, right,
He's got the one in Florence and Savannah.
right.
But I went to Fort Smith, and when I first, let me tell you a little story here. When I first went out there, I was auctioning,
Yeah,
and had to go get my license. I'm not going to tell that story.
yes,
That's another story. I don't tell that one much. But I had to get a license, and I got out there, and they said first morning they say, well, who all in the room has auctioned or is auctioning now? We know some of you probably auctioned some. So how many of them? Of course, you know, there's about 8 of us.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah,
And they said, well, you folks come on up. So we went up front, and hey, I'm the very last one. He said, well, show us what you can do. You know, the first one, show us what you can do. Auction off that lamp over there.
Right.
Sell that vase over there.
right. Which is intimidating, by the way, when you first start this deal.
Yeah, in front of the whole class.
Because
And,
I've done this myself.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking
you
about.
know, it's kind of. But anyway, I was the very last one to go,
Yeah.
and I thought they were fairly pitiful.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
I understand.
So he said, I forget what it even was, but he said, sell 3 items right there. Pick 3 items and so on. And I let it rip, you know.
Yeah.
He got done, and he said, what do you think about that? And, you know, they're kind of like, well, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, I want you to know that's the very worst I have ever heard in my life. He has done everything that's wrong.
Talking about you. Talking about you.
Talking about me. He said, I don't think he left out anything. I think he did everything in his auction chant that's wrong.
The heck you say?
I'm telling you, that's nearly word for word, man.
That's twice that you got your feelings hurt already.
Oh, yeah, and I hadn't even gotten the business. I ain't got a license. But, yeah, that's, you know. But I was still working, and I'm doing auctions on the side. And then later, Bobby Collier and I had to get my real estate license when I went up there, just
Yeah.
an affiliate,
Yeah.
to sell the real estate on the block and all.
Right.
And
So you sold auction in Columbia with Bobby Collier for a pretty good while.
from '86 and through the Saturn announcement and Saturn building until 2003 when he passed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I came home, was with Yulin Hooper for a little while when he passed. You and I got together.
That's right. Yulin, a mutual friend of ours, and
Fine auctioneer.
fine
company.
auctioneer, and he built a big business, and you were part of that, and of course that business still carries on today. One of our fellow auctioneers is still doing that, and but anyway, hats off to Yulin. I learned from Yulin too, because he was one of the teachers at the Nashville Auction School.
Well, if you were around him and working with him, you learned.
Yeah, yeah.
I learned from everybody I ever worked with.
Well,
I
yeah.
learned a lot from you. I look at you and
Well,
I pick up things, and especially on just the real estate side, which you and I try to major in
Right.
with all our years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I've been hanging around this thing since about 78. And then, of course, there's the farm.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. That was kind of next on the list. You are a busy guy, and part of that, of course, is you run a big cattle farm, probably one of the larger cattle farms.
No.
I mean,
There's
it's a
big
good
boys around here now.
Well, I understand, but from my perspective, having a handful of cows over the years here and there, to having a few hundred head, that's a big difference.
We keep about, my wife and I and sons, we keep about 100 mama cows, black Angus, black white-faced mama cows. They're all commercial cattle.
Yeah.
The bulls are registered. Try to buy registered bulls. I've been getting some good bulls lately that aren't registered, and I'm doing well with them.
Yeah.
The whole thing about the calf crop, putting beef on the ground.
It's all about the calves, isn't it?
All about the calves, all about the product. It's food, man.
Yeah.
You got to treat it like food.
It's all about raising those calves. And by the way, I've had a roast or two.
Yeah.
I've had a roast or two from your farm, which is pretty fine, I must say.
Are you eating one of mine now?
No, we're out.
You're out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something again here before.
Well,
too
I've
long.
got some of them.
Do you? All right. Well, I'll be.
And I sell halves.
Do you?
Of course, you've had a half.
Yeah.
I had some people. I almost quit doing it because of the processor I used. I had some people who were not satisfied.
Yeah.
2 people who
Yeah.
bought halves,
Yeah.
and I use. Well, Eli, we did an auction. So
Yeah.
he bought the place over at Collinwood.
Right.
A real young guy, and he is Cracker Jack, and he owns Florence Frozen Meats.
Yeah. You tell me about him.
And he's just running a Cracker Jack business down
Doing
there.
a fine job, isn't he?
Right on past the stockyard on Poplar
Yeah.
Street there.
Yeah.
Maybe not be Poplar, going around past Co-op there. And he's got, he has done a tremendous job for me now on several.
Yeah. Well, let me back up on this cow business just a minute, because I know, you and your family all had the farm and probably had cows growing up, this, that, and the other. So you've been around them all your life. But knowing what I know about you and the way you run your farm, there was a gear switch somewhere along the way where you, what I'm going to say, really got in the cattle business a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you turned it up a notch, in other words. It wasn't just a hobby.
No, along about 2003, I went from 15 to probably 40 mama cows. I had gotten out of the feeder steer deal.
Yeah.
And, of course, I was traveling with the company,
Right.
with DuPont.
Right.
And on Monday morning, I left, and usually I'd be back on the weekend, but if the boys were playing football or had a ball game, I have actually flown home from California and watched the football game at Low Rudder and got on the plane and flown back.
Yeah.
I just didn't miss a football game.
Well, I
Told
understand.
my boss I didn't want to miss a football game, and he said, well, don't.
Yeah.
And, hey, I lived a dream with the company. I mean, it just,
Well,
but if you would go do it,
yeah.
and their phone not ring, there wasn't going to be anything said to you.
Yeah. As long as you did what you needed,
Get it done.
just get it done.
And take care of business.
Yeah.
But now if a customer called my boss,
Yeah.
we had a problem.
Right. Right.
I mean, if you're the guy that called him, where do you want to go play golf?
Right. Right.
I'm on the phone. I mean,
Right.
we got a problem here, buddy.
Right.
You called my boss. Well, I was just trying to get you.
Sure. Sure.
But it was, day and night sometimes, weekends, holidays, it's just whatever you had to do.
What you did.
But if I wound up going to be out there and there's a football game, I'd fly home, watch a football game, fly back.
Right. But taking care of the cows in between all that.
Had 2 boys at home.
There you go. Now we're talking.
Buddy, they had to work. There wasn't, playing on your phone all day long. The later they came in, the earlier we got up.
Yeah. There way. That's the way.
There didn't have to be a curfew.
Right.
They'd curfew themselves tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Tonight they'll come home.
There you go. That's a good idea.
But I came home, made a list, got different clothes packed up out of here.
Yeah.
Do my job, come home, make a list, do an auction on Saturday, make a list Sunday, and I'm out here again.
Yep.
But then as we acquired more farms, and I own, I guess, all of the old family farm. Yeah, all the old family farm, and have added some to it.
So you're kind of a goal for you was to just kind of re-put together the old family farm.
I intended to put it all back together.
Yeah, so you got the old family farm back together.
And some added to it.
And some added. Good
But
deal.
it was tough. That was tough to do and put two boys through college.
Well, it's a testament, though, to just will and drive and being willing to work. I think. I enjoy working. I've known you enough now that I think you do, too. You just enjoy working.
Hey, I enjoy working.
You enjoy working.
There's people that absolutely just,
Yeah.
it just hurts them to have to get up work. But I'm going to be doing something.
Right.
And I might as well be doing something I like.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you. I agree. They say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, that's right.
So
now, I love the farm.
so-
I love the auctions.
Yeah, we have fun doing them.
We've got the best, absolutely the best crew and working arrangements and people working and helping and that I've ever worked with.
We do have a good bunch. We have a great bunch.
Wonderful people that we work with. We've got the people that, we've got folks cleaning and working today
Right.
on a house that we're going to be offering, actually going to sell on, I believe we set the day August 3rd, didn't we?
August 3rd.
And then we're pretty much busy until then with stuff. Oh, and things are just kind of lining up. Pumping Station Road this Saturday. I think I've got everything rocking and rolling, ready to go there, and
Yep.
just need some starting bids.
Yeah. Always need to start and bid.
Yeah, that's your
the
your
way.
and let's go.
That's the way we always do it. We got to have a start and bid.
We're going to be there about 2 hours.
My guest today, of course, is Guy Hester, my partner, Hood and Hester Realty and Auction Company, and this Friends and Neighbor Hour. Of course, we've been able to sponsor here for a while, and we. I asked Guy last night. I didn't have anybody scheduled for today, and I was like, "Well, I'll call Guy and see if he can come in." So I gave him really short notice, and he agreed to come in. And Guy's got, and I knew this about you. You got an interesting history, an interesting work history. The chemical company, the food processing plants has always been kind of fascinating to me. I had myself been in a few when I worked for DRM. There was a time that I went to a Pillsbury plant, I went to a cheese factory, and a couple of different food processing places. And it's a different world. There's we had to wear hair nets and beard nets.
Oh, hair nets, beard nets.
All the
smock, cover your boots.
Cover stuff up. One of the more interesting places I got to visit was the Bruton Company in downtown Nashville, where they make Skoal.
Really?
Yeah, I got to go in that plant, and you had to dress up on all that too.
Oh yeah.
And the smell in that plant was so overwhelming it would almost choke you.
I can imagine.
It is that tobacco and everything that they treat it with, and
Right.
the Skoal and all that kind of stuff. It was almost overwhelming. It'd take you a little while to get used to it. But I got to visit that plant several times, and it's right in downtown. I mean, right under the Capitol. It's right there. But they made the Bruton Snuff too, the old Bruton Snuff.
Did you ever visit the Nashville stockyards when it was a stockyard?
No, I never.
Newhoff, was there.
No.
We used to haul top hogs up there.
No, I never got to do that.
Well,
I wish I had, but I never had.
Yeah, that was quite an experience.
I bet. Interesting deal. Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about our business. You and I partnered up, we think now, 9 years ago?
Yeah, I think
Something like
in
that.
November.
And it's been a good partnership. We created Hood and Hester Realty and Auction Company, and we're located right across from Duncan's there,
Yeah.
as I like to say, behind that ice machine.
Behind the ice machine, yep.
And
of course, you're in the office a lot. I'm not.
well, our business is not so much in the office.
Mine's out there.
Yours out there.
Mine is out there. Yesterday on a sale site.
Yeah.
Day before yesterday, sale site.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of on-site work.
It does.
To make these auctions come together and be organized and have things so that they flow.
Right.
Yeah, that's really what makes the auction preparation, organization.
Right. making sure things are lined up, both from a physical point of view and how we're going to lay out a sale, but also from just the what am I trying to say? The documentation, everything has to be taking place that puts a sale together.
Each person there at our auction has their part to do, and our people do it. You know, you've got your part. I've got my part. You know, I don't remember a sale lately where we were off a ticket.
No.
We may have had somebody leave. You know, we have 12 items on each page that goes in for the cashier.
Right.
And
right.
somebody may have gone and paid before a ticket went in. We have to call them and get that or something.
Right.
But I don't remember one when it's not on the penny.
Right.
You know, and the ticket's all. Of course, we make it right if it's not. But you know,
Right.
I don't.
Well, some of it is, a lot of it's organization, but also experience. We've got some folks that have been with us a while, been doing it a while.
Well, most of them been with us the whole time.
Yeah, and we've kind of know our roles and get it all organized. The promotion part, the contracting part, the money part. You know, all that has to be seen after.
Oh, absolutely.
And accounted for. We're not dealing with our money. We're dealing with somebody else's money.
OPM.
That's right. And
Other people's
so
money.
we want to make sure that it's right when we do it. And you know, the other thing I can brag on us about, and I will just a little bit, is we've been blessed to have a very successful record so far. You and I have not experienced any no sales on real estate.
Well, a lot of that
Excuse me.
is in preparation before the sale.
It is.
And, you know, as I say, our come to Jesus meetings.
Right. Well, you know, not every property is right for a sale.
Not every property needs to go to auction.
That's right.
When I look at, well, I've told you before. Look, I had a guy call me when I think it needs to list.
Right. Right.
You know, you have these properties that are immaculate. They don't need anything.
Right.
There's no flipping to it. It's move-in ready. It's absolutely. And in that case, if you don't have a lot of other things that you need to sell at the same time, clean the house and all that, like estates like we do,
Right.
then you may need to list it on the Keller Williams side.
Right. I guess the good thing is we try to give people just good advice, straightforward, like we would our own folks. And tell them the truth about what it takes to put on a sale, what it'll cost them, and what it could profit them. And we've been pretty good at making sure that we're good to our word. You know, we're close always on what we think a property will bring. And so far, knock on wood, we've just been blessed to have a good record.
Well, you know, with our experience, I guess when we go out and look, Jeff, and we have that come to Jesus meeting with the sellers, and we all need to get on the same page here.
Sure.
We have to understand that this is real business. We're talking about most of the time, sometimes in hours, $1 million
Yeah.
or more. But we're talking about some real money, and it takes a lot of thought. Now, with mine and your experience, when we go out there and we look at a piece of property, and I have in my mind, which I'm not going to divulge much, what I'm thinking on the property.
Right.
And you're the owner, and you're telling me you're just not going to take less than $500,000. You know, I may need to start easing on out toward the truck and tell you it sure is a nice piece of property, because that's one I want the competitor to have. This is going to be a no sale right here.
Well, usually, you know, most of the people that we've worked with, though, understand that property value is not determined by me and you.
It's not, no, absolutely not. And it doesn't matter how much they need.
Right. It matters what the market is.
It matters what the market is.
It matters what the market is and what it will do. And we've had our finger on the market long enough to understand, and we've watched the market. We know what properties generally are worth. Nobody has a crystal ball. You can't tell them exactly.
You tell me, and I understand. At this point, I'm a little on the conservative side.
You are.
I'm not lowballing.
You're conservative.
I'm pretty conservative on most of it.
But I always say this too. I had rather underpromise and over-deliver
You better believe
as the other way around.
Yeah.
And so we try to manage expectations within the real reason, within the real world, within what's realistic, and then determine a plan to sell it. I mean, that's basically the way it works.
But an auction, there are things that have to be done. You have to get everything in order
Yeah, that's true.
and be organized.
That's true. Well, listen, our time's somewhat winded down.
Well, you know, when you called me last night, I said, well, for how long?
Yeah.
What are we going to talk? I can tell you everything I know in 2 minutes and have time left.
It goes by faster than you think. It does. And,
Listen, you're talking about getting to know somebody. I lived a dream, man.
yeah, you did, and have, and do, and so do I, brother. So do I. We live in a blessed part of the world.
Blessed.
A blessed part of the world. We've got family and friends here, and we're able to make a living in our hometown where we grew up.
Doing what we like.
Do what we like to do. So what can we complain about?
You know, I would still be with DuPont if I hadn't had to move.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't still. I'd be 70 this year. But
Yeah. But hey, instead of DuPont, you work with Jeff Hood. So how much better could it get?
and you know, people talk about retiring. You know, I'm about, as long as I have my health, I'm about as retired as I'll ever be.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to get up in the morning and do something. You know, everybody talks about, well, you could go fishing. Well, yeah, for about 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, I like fishing, but I don't think I could make my living in it.
Well, I'm kind of there.
I started, you know, it's funny you mentioned. I started to drive over to Laurel Hill Lake yesterday evening, but it was really windy.
Oh man, that wind
It was
blew
windy.
Golly.
It was blowing so
Hot
bad.
wind.
I started to drive
I think
over
it
there.
just came out of Texas. It was a hot wind.
Yeah, I started to drive over there, and I thought, nah, it's just too windy. I'm not going to go over there. But I may make it over there one evening this week just to sit on the lake. I don't even care if I catch anything. I'll just sit there and look at it. That's all right.
Well, if you got that much time, I got some things for you to do.
Well, I didn't. I shouldn't have told you
In
that.
fact, I need to get my list out here. We got some things to talk about when you get off there.
I shouldn't have told you that. Hey, we do have some good stuff coming, and I'll take just a minute or two to tell it. Of course, this Saturday, you and I are going to be down on
That's a nice home.
Pumping Station Road, a really nice home.
Big room, big wide hall, big family room, fireplace, 2.5 baths.
7.25 acres, personal
two
property.
tracks.
And then on the 3rd, that's right, Saturday the 3rd, isn't it? August 3rd.
August 3rd.
We'll be on Bumpus with a really nice brick home
that's
there.
a nice home.
And 3 acres and beautiful trees.
4-bedroom.
4-bedroom
Full
home.
basement.
Full basement. That's going to be nice too. Lots
Completely
of personal
shaded
property.
lot. First time we're going to have shade in a while. No shade this Saturday, folks.
Yeah, this going to be a nice one. And we got some others in the works that we'll tell that when we get it sewed up just a little bit. A couple more that I know of, maybe 3 more. That are in the works. We're not set dates on just yet. But if you're thinking about having an auction, of course, we'd love to talk to you. Our phone number is 244-7555. My guest today, Guy Hester, my partner, Hood and Hester Realty and Auction Company. Appreciate you being here, buddy.
Hey, it was great. It turned out really nice. I didn't know what I'd say.
Well, I told you I'd take you through it. It's all right. You did good. You did
Thank
good.
you, Joe.
You did all right. And listen, it ain't hard for an auctioneer to talk.
No, but I like it when I get paid for it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, buddy. Till next time.
Prospect Communications.
Democrats divided. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. More Democrats than not in Congress.